Team Bro Pyre!
Hey guys, what the heck is going on? Sam here. So coming at you today with another episode of 101 Goat Decks, and I'm really excited to be able to show you guys this deck profile. It's probably the most recent deck that I've been working on. The idea came to me probably about 3 weeks ago, and I've been testing it a lot over the last week or two. The idea for this came to me looking at bulk, and which is a really common way for me to come up with ideas for Goat decks. I had found that different cards had same strategies and that kind of stuff. And so the ideas kind of started turning, and I was like, huh, this would be really cool. And I'm not gonna lie, the first few weeks, I'm sorry, the first week or two of testing this deck really kind of sucked. I'm not gonna lie, until we really decided to go aggressive with it, more or less kind of like a fire version of Beatdown or Zoo in Goat format, if you guys are familiar with that. So yeah, that's kind of like the playstyle that we went with, and this deck did a complete 180, and I was like, whoa, and I started just winning against all of the meta Goat decks, and I was like, okay, cool. So, and then I changed up some ratios, and I feel like this is probably the best build that I've come up with at the moment. And yeah, so my phone, sorry about that, guys. And I was like, well, yeah, so this is probably the ratios that I'm gonna stick with for now. And yeah, so we just kind of keeping them at this, and then I did some last minute testing with this with Cooper Barnes today. You guys know him from the Heart of the Underdog Exodia deck that we had put on this channel as the first episode of this 101 Goat decks. Feel free to check that video out. But without further ado, let's get into this profile. So we played 3 Spirit of Flames, 3 Inferno. These cards both can be special summoned, not normal summoned, but only special summoned by removing from play 1 fire monster from your grave. So they're more or less kind of like miniature chaos monsters, I guess you could say, but fire versions of them. So this card becomes 2,000 during the battle phase. So he is kind of like Bazoo, so to speak, but the fire version of it. Next we have Inferno, which is 1100 attack monster, and if it attacks one of your opponent's monsters and destroys it by battle, sends it to the grave, inflict 1500 damage to your opponent. Now this card would, or stall decks, or floodgates, or any of that kind of stuff, but fire monsters are just designed by Konami to have burn effects. So some of these monsters like Lava Golem and Thessalos and that kind of stuff just have burn effects. So it is what it is. But yeah, so this card and this card kind of has sparked the idea for this deck. But in order to special summon them, you need fuel in your grave, which UFO Turtle comes in handy. UFO Turtle can float in another one into another one, and then you go into something else. You want to try to get as many fire monsters in your grave as possible in order for just the deck to be able to work. So it's kind of like Mystic Tomato or Shining Angel, so to speak. It's just the fire recruiter. It has to be 1500 or less attack, being special summoned from the deck in attack position. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the fire engine floating. Besides these three, you run Command Knight and Blast Magician, which are both just targets for this deck. Next we run Molten Zombie, and this card is really cool. Man, when I first started this deck, I was like, dude, this card is broken. But then I was like, not really after a while. Version 1.0 had 3 copies of this deck, but I found out that this card's really good in certain scenarios, especially with Call the Haunted or Premature, because it has to be special summoned from the grave in order to draw a card. And I really like that because like it's just a +1, and I really like it. Other times I'll just beat over my opponent's monsters, get a +1. I'll make them waste like Sakuratsu or something on it, or I'll just discard it off of Charity or something like that. So next we have Grand Maju. People are playing this card now in 2018 because there's just busted cards like Pot of Desires, which just makes this card a 4,000 attack monster to begin with. But back in Go format, guys, you had to grind a little bit more to be able to get this card up to a high attack. Now, I play one copy of this because you want to see this card mid to late game, in theory. So whenever you're banishing monsters off of this, it climbs up to 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and 28. One time I got in this card actually up to 2,800 attack because it was a grind game, and all 6 of these had actually been special summoned to the field. And DD Warrior Lady put in some work as well, and then this came out as 28. It's really just you want to make it a beat stick, and if you can get it up to like 2K, just like normal summon 2K, that's really good because that's the whole idea of just normal summon and put pressure on your opponent. Kind of like more or less like the Beatdown Zoo playstyle, like I was talking about earlier. So just one copy of it. I play one copy of Blast Magician. So what this card does is whenever a spell card is activated, you put a counter on it, and you can remove counters from this card and target one monster on the field and destroy it equal to the number of counters taken off of it times 700. So like say you activate a Rhoda and an Upstart. This has 2 counters on it, which adds up to 1,400. So you can destroy your opponent's Dekoichi, Shining Angel, or anything that is 1,400 or less. So that just makes it to where this card is a +1, and I really like that. I've actually destroyed itself because it's 1,400, and made room in my grave for these guys on 1 or 2 occasions. The other day, man, I just opened up a lot of spells and then floated down into this monster. Then activated Charity, 2 Upstarts, and a Rhoda. And so he had 2,800 worth of counters on him, and I destroyed my opponent's Jinzo with it. And that was really cool. Next, we play 1 Lava Golem. It's just kind of spot removal, 2 for 1 your opponent. And then there's many different ways that you can actually use Lava Golem to your advantage. One way is just another burn effect, burns it for 1,000. And like I said, you get rid of 2 of their monsters and give them 1 Lava Golem. And just 2 for 1 spot removal, guys. That's pretty much what it comes down to. When it finally hits the grave, after being removed from your opponent's side of the field, it's a fire monster. So it's just more fuel for these guys. Next, we play Command Knight, just 1 copy. So what this does is all warriors gain a 400 attack. If you control another monster, your opponent's monsters, they cannot target this card for an attack. So that makes it to where it's a really sticky situation for them sometimes. You can float into this card, and they're like, man, like just depending on what's on the field. So I really like it. And it's a Rhoda target, which you play 2. Next, we play 1 copy of Thessalos. Now, this card is really kind of a weird tech in this deck, and it was kind of like the last thing that I had added to this deck. And we play also Big Shield Gardener in this deck too with it. And you might be like, oh, well, that's kind of inconsistent. There's been a few times where I'm like, man, Thessalos really kind of sucks right now. But every other time I've seen it, I'm like, whoa, this card is super cool because at the end of the day, he's a fire. And if he's just absolutely dead, he becomes a charity target. But we play Big Shield Gardener along with 2 other Rhodas. Also, you special summon these monsters. And if they attack over one of your opponent's monsters, you just get a plus off of it, and then you just tribute them for Thessalos, and then you can just rip 1 card out of your opponent's hand and then get another plus from it, burn them for a little bit of damage, and then just go on with the duel. It's really, really cool, guys. I really like it. Thessalos, it just ended up being a kind of a last-minute tech in this deck. I really like it. So next we play, Big Shield Gardener. This card negates knock, if you guys don't know that, negates slow exchange, negates a lot of stuff. DD Warrior Lady kind of adds into like the warrior engine because we had played Command Knight and I wanted to play Rhoda. So I was like, okay, let's add Exile Force. So we played 1 Rhoda and then 2 targets. And then I was like, okay, well, DD Warrior Lady because we play Grand Magi because DD Warrior Lady can just on spot removal after damage calc banish a monster and herself. So that kind of just plays more into like the strategy of this deck. Everything just kind of really works together. Then we played 1 Exile Force, just on spot removal for stuff like Thousandizer Strict, Jinzo, that kind of stuff, and 1 Sand Game because he searches your whole deck. 2 copies of Rhoda, 2 copies of Knock because this card is just an absolutely crazy aggressive card against your opponent because you don't play any flip effect monsters in your deck, so just go ham like with this card on them. 1 Premature, you want a special bag, Molten Zombie or Sangan, and then Tribute for Thessalos if possible. If you can't, then it's totally okay. Because like if you don't have any of these cards, if you end up like just getting back like UFO Turtle and like, you know, getting like just getting more damage in and then like floating into something else is totally okay, guys. Premature is still good. Snatch steal is good. Obviously, snatch steal kind of plays into Thessalos a little bit. And you want to snatch steal your lava golem when you give it to him because that's super fun and trolly. And then we play charity. Obviously, we play 2 upstarts because this kind of went in with a theory for blast magician, just being able to activate more spells like on the spot. Delinquent duo and then pot of greed. Those are kind of just duh for goat. Heavy storm and then MST, and then 1 copy of Shield and Sword, my favorite tech in this whole deck because it makes it to where Inferno becomes 19 attack, Command Knight becomes a normal summon, 2300 attack, Big Shield Gardna becomes a 2600 attack, with Command Knight on the field it actually becomes 31, so it can beat over your opponent's Lava Golem that you gave them, so that's pretty fun. Deed War Lady gets boosted up a little bit. Grand Maju does not get affected at all because this has the same attack and defense, and this actually gets a boost by 300. And most cards in GOAT format have smaller attack than they do, I'm sorry, smaller defense than they do attack. So if you activate Big Shield and then you're attacking over any other monsters, you get that card advantage back. And that's the way it kind of is played with this. So, and Big Shield Gardener, you don't want to like attack with him unless you have any of these 5 battle traps or Ring of Destruction face down, because that'd just be stupid. He's in 100 attack and you would just kind of lose the game at that point. And then we play Call of Haunted. You want to bring back, like I said, Molten Zombie, Sangan, Tribute for Thessalos, whatever, Ring of Destruction, on-spot removal, Mirror Force, and then 3 Sakurazu just to keep the pressure on, and then Magic Cylinder. I kind of put this in last minute because sometimes Inferno and Big Shield Gardna and stuff like that's kind of left on the field with kind of like low attack, and you don't want them to attack them. So that just kind of plays more into it. And plus, we're playing a deck where we give your opponent a Lava Golem, so it just kind of, it came more in handy. So, and already played 4 Battle Traps, and I just kind of wanted to play 1 more. 3 other techs that I like for the side deck: Invasion of Flames for decks that play a lot of trap cards, and then Blast Juggler for decks that don't play very big monsters. Because what it does is, like, during your standby phase, you contribute this card select and destroy 2 face-up monsters with attack 1000 or less. So depending on what your opponent has, you can float into this after they attack you for the last time, and then on your standby phase, activate its effect. It's really cool. I'm sorry, Invasion of Flames, just your opponent can't activate trap cards when it's normal summoned. And then Little Chimera, if you're playing against like Legendary Ocean decks, then this is a good side end tech for it. So anyway, guys, this is the deck. Let me know what you guys think. Really curious about your opinions. This is a brand new deck that I've put together over the last few weeks, and I really, really enjoy playing it. Shout out to Cooper for testing with me on this.